Hi, I'm Chas with Chas's Crazy Creations, and today I'm going to take a shelf unit that I found for $5 and upcycle it for my home. Let's get started. I found this little shelf on Facebook Marketplace and it was only $5. We were in need of a little shelf like this for our home. Someone had tried to paint the shelf and it was chipping off, so I knew that it was in need of some good cleaning and sanding. I started by lightly sanding the entire piece of furniture. This would help get rid of any chipping paint as well as any other things that were sticking to it and allow the future paint to stick to it as well. I next then brought in my cred cutter and sprayed the entire surface to clean it and remove all the dust from the sanding. I wiped the entire thing down. Turns out once spraying it, I learned that there was former latex paint on it, so I wiped up as much as possible, sanded it again, and then cleaned it again, and here's how it looked. For this project, I decided on Folk Art Home Decor chalk paint in the color Nautical. I painted the entire piece one coat and just absolutely fell in love with the color of this paint. I painted the first coat, then I let it dry, and then I decided it needed a second coat, so I went ahead and painted the second coat and let that dry. Once both coats were dry, I was ready to move on to the next step. I found this plaid folk art stencil that I absolutely fell in love with and knew it was perfect for this project. I used my folk art stencil tape to hold the stencil into place on my piece. This stencil tape is great because it holds it in place and is easy to remove. I then started with Folk Art Home Decor chalk paint in the color Summer Porch. Using my stencil brush, I loaded the brush with paint and then got the excess off on a paper plate. I then began dabbing the paint onto the stencil in the center. I did this until I got the desired look that I wanted. I then wanted to switch paints, so I used Folk Art Home Decor chalk paint in the color Sheepskin. Repeating the same process, I loaded the brush with paint and then got off the excess on a paper plate, and then began pouncing my brush up and down onto the stencil. I continued until I got the look that I wanted. I then carefully lifted and removed the stencil from the piece. I then continued to stencil the next shelf and then the next one. I did the top and the bottom shelves the same, and the center one I did in the reverse colors. I let all the stencils and the entire piece dry completely before moving on. I then used Folk Art Home Decor varnish to seal the piece. The varnish is water soluble, which I absolutely love. I painted it onto each shelf and used light strokes and was careful not to overwork it. I let it dry between each coat and put on a total of 3 coats to protect the shelf unit. Once it had dried completely, the shelf was ready to be used. I absolutely love how it turned out and I'm so excited to use it in our home. I hope this inspires you to upcycle something for your home. I'd love it if you'd subscribe to my YouTube channel and my blog. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.